Hello everyone. That hurt my finger today to open. That's rare. Anyway, hello, I am AP Calculus, and today I'll be reading the second half of Chapter 4 of Double Dare. I hope you guys enjoy. Several hours later, the sun had begun to set, and they were done training and sparring for the day. Kaminari gathered his things and said his goodbyes, and began exiting the park. And all the while, Izuku kept looking up at Dare expectantly from the corner of his eyes. Once he seemed confident that Kaminari was out of earshot, he finally said what had been on his mind for the past 5 minutes or so. So, are you gonna follow him like you did with me? Or what? No. First off, I'm not trying to teach himself. And second off, I only agreed to sparring a couple of hours every other week. I'm not taking on another full-time student, so it would be, okay, just wondering. Izuku held his hands up in defeat, but continued looking at him as if he had more to say. A hint of a smile twitching at the corner of his mouth. Dare took a big gulp of water from his bowl, maintaining eye contact with the shorter boy all the while. With a sigh he gave in and asked, "Alright, spill it out. What's on your mind?" "Nothing." "Zoo." "Dare?" They stared each other down for a moment, but it was Izuku's turn to break first. "Okay, fine. It's multiple things, actually. First being, what do you think? Of? Of Kaminari? He seems nice. You've said that a lot about him, even before you met him. But what do you actually think of him?" Dare exhaled a long sigh. "Do you really want to know, like, the full truth?" "Yes, please." "Okay, well, I think he has good potential. He's right in saying he has a big personality. He's easygoing and has a magnetic quality about him. He also has a solid aesthetic going already with just the hair alone. So if a costume designer was worth half their salt, he will probably be doing well in the popularity ranks. That being said, I think he underestimates his own intelligence while simultaneously overestimating his charisma, which leads to an informal, devil-may care attitude and a self-deprecating sense of humor, which isn't inherently bad, but that will be helpful with the media and gaining a fan base as well, like I mentioned earlier, but will ultimately lead to trouble coping with things when they've gone too far, when things have gone too far south to joke about. I also think he is friendly and kind, but perhaps a little too trusting and easy to befriend, which leaves him open to be targeted for manipulation from outside influences. If you're planning on partnering up with him, you'll have to be twice as vigilant to make up for that. Partner up? Yeah, after you graduate, sometimes newly minted heroes will start off as sidekicks to bigger names, and sometimes they'll opt to band together in their own little groups, hoping their collective experience will make up for the lack of a big name backing them. So, if you and Kaminari decide to take that route, you could be like a hero duo or whatever. He would be the face of it while you sneak around in the back while they're distracted and take people out. Dare shrugged, trying his best to seem impartial and unbothered, because he was. He wasn't jealous at all. "Oh, well, that's a good idea and all, and I'm sure Kaminari would be a very good partner and everything. But I was kind of hoping, but I guess that wouldn't really work because unless it could work, but that's just more work for you, and if you think it would work or wouldn't work, you would know better than I could." Midoriya was mumbling a bit and refused to make eye contact again. That was a surefire sign that he was too nervous to say something important. So, Dai put one reassuring hand onto his shoulder and moved his head into his eyeline to gain his attention again. "Hey, it's okay. Take a deep breath and tell me what's on your mind." Brilliant green eyes shone in the light of the setting sun as he looked up again, a new confidence permeating his whole face as he steeled his nerves. If I'm gonna have anyone be my partner, then I want it to be you. Daro was taken aback by this. He literally took a step or two backwards as if the force of the words alone were enough to make him lose his balance. A million thoughts and a web of conflicting emotions passed through his mind all at once. His first instinct was to accept the proposal immediately. Years of loneliness and isolation had made him desperate to have someone who was in any way guaranteed to stay by his side, and if he could choose anyone in the world to have with him, it would be Izuku, hands down. He knew he would have his back, and he already was showing this much improvement after a few months, then he surely would surpass his skill in no time. But for all the reasons he wanted to say yes, there were all the more reasons why he shouldn't. Zara had been alone all this time for a reason. It wasn't safe to bring other people into this. The missions he went on were often ones no one else could do. Izuku couldn't heal or resurrect himself in the way Dare could, and even if he stayed behind on the more dangerous missions, what would happen if his captors ever caught back up to him? His only options would be cutting off all ties and leaving in the dead of night, which would be devastating for a partner, or asking him to come with him, which he could never ask of him. And even worse, if his enemies found out about him, and they captured and threatened Izuku. He would never be able to forgive himself if Zu got hurt because of him. Their current level of involvement was already risky enough. But beyond that, there was another reason, far more obvious reason why it wouldn't work out. Zu, you're going to be an amazing hero one day. The best, whether you go billboard and become number one, or if you go underground and shake the underbellies clear of its skeletons and cobwebs, I know from the bottom of my heart that you were born to be a hero. Midoriya started tearing up, and it looked like Dare was in danger of being engulfed in a sobbing hug any second now. So he decided to drop the other shoe before he lost his resolve. But I'm not. He put a firm grip on both of Midoriya's shoulders as he tried his best to maintain eye contact to ensure Izuku really heard what he was saying. I'm not a hero, Izuku. I never was, and I never will be. I'm a vigilante. I do things that are against the law, both of man and of nature sometimes. He attempted to lighten up the mood with a small joke, because Izuku was already crying. I can't be your partner because I can't be a hero like you. And I won't let you give up on your dreams and your potential to become a vigilante like me. You're destined for far more than that, far, far more than I could ever offer you. Do you understand? Midoriya offered a tearful nod, followed by a second later by a determined shake. No, what if I could do both? Both? Don't underground heroes work with vigilantes all the time? Yeah, sure, some underground heroes will have spontaneous team-ups on rare occasions where they both arrive at the scene at the same time. It's against the law for a hero not to at least attempt to arrest named vigilantes, so the cool ones will intentionally allow themselves to get distracted long enough to let us get away once the job is over, but that's a whole nother scenario. That's not any kind of official partnership. But it could be, like a secret one? And when someone notices the same vigilante showing up on the scene for all your missions and getting away every time, that's a corruption scandal at best and aiding and abetting arrests at worst. You could lose your hero license as fast as you earned it. It's fine, but okay, fine. But what if you don't go on hero missions with me? What if I just went on your vigilante missions with you? What? I could have two aliases. One for my official hero career, and then another one I used to help you. Different costumes and gear too, so no one would recognize me. It's still too risky. Not to mention the fact that you can't be in two places at once. What if I could be? You're not making any sense, Sue. Izuku pulled out a journal he had started for all his blueprints and ideas for future support gear, flipping it to a page that seemed well worn, as if it were erased and reworked 100 times. And on it was a diagram of a complex-looking mask. Okay, so I had a few ideas. Kind of working on the concept of being sort of guy in the chair figure. Uh, there's still a few holes in the mechanism, so just bear with me for a minute. Basically, there's a two-way comm system with microcams, and possibly a drone or two. I can be fed a feed of both your perspective and an overhead view of the fight. Then I could basically act as your second set of eyes and watch your back, as well as provide you with real-time quirk analysis to help you come up with good counterattack. I could also hack into camera feeds or pull up maps or whatever you need to help you out. It would be like a more advanced and personal version of your current alert system. You obviously wouldn't need me all the time, but when you're doing something particularly risky, I could offer you backup without actually needing to be there in person. I don't know, Zoo. You could still get wound up in trouble if you're caught. But I won't get caught. I can use a voice modifier so anyone who overhears me won't be able to recognize me. Though I doubt they would anyway. I'm probably going to be underground and I'm pretty plain sounding. It's still not a guarantee. I don't care. It's a risk I'm willing to take. I want to help you. If it makes you feel any better, I can make a whole system 2 ways so that you can be there for my backup missions too. We can use earpieces and voice mutters to make sure no one else can hear us talking. Look. Izuku flipped to another page, showing a close-up version of the mask from a different angle. I was already planning on using this mute system in my mask, so I could think out loud without giving away my ideas or position. Adding a voice changer in the comm system wouldn't be any extra work. We could even put in a distress signal so if either one of us gets in deep shit, it will alert the other. I want to work with you, and if we can't do that in any official in-person capacity, then this is the next best thing. Dare was running out of reasons to say no, or at least reasons he could say aloud. This hardly seemed the time to spring into a whole tragic backstory of him, not to mention telling Zoo that he might need to skip town at the drop of a hat at literally any moment would only stress him out more and make him worry more. And that was a strain on their relationship that he just wasn't ready to put there willingly. On the other hand, he felt guilty hiding so much from someone who trusted him so much and put his faith into. It was a lie of omission, a lie meant to protect him, but a lie nonetheless. He took a deep breath, prepared himself to tell Izuku everything, to lay out the reasons why associating himself any further with Dare, even on a secretive basis like this, was a horrible idea. But then Izuku grabbed his hands. He held them tightly, as if they would fly away if he let them go, and he looked at him as if he were the most precious creature on the planet. Please, Dare, I don't want anyone else to be my partner. I want you. Let me help you. And with that, all the resolve in his body dissolved like popsicles on a warm summer day. He was powerless to say no to Izuku when he looked at him like that. So, instead, he found himself saying, "Okay, if you're sure you want me, then I'm yours." And then he was wrapped in a warm embrace before he had time to fully process his words at all. It wasn't until several hours later, staring at the roof of his van, as he laid on his mattress that night, that Dare considered the possible alternate meaning of their words. I don't want anyone else to be my partner. I want you. He knew he meant to be his hero partner, a partner in crime and justice. But maybe he could also mean no. Dare physically shook the idea from his head. That was beyond wishful thinking, and that's not what he meant by that. That would be ridiculous. Dara had never actually asked Izuku what his orientation was, but whatever his preferences were, it would be impossible for Dara to fit that description. At least in any kind of permanent capacity. You can't be attracted to someone who doesn't have a permanent form you can be attracted to, can you? Besides, it would never work. Dara was too selfish, too broken, and too unstable to be with anyone in that way. Much less someone like Izuku. He deserves far more than any kind of life he could give him. At the bare minimum, he deserves someone who is real. So, Dare buried the thought away in a deep little box in his heart. He was his friend, his protege, and his partner. That was enough. It had to be. Midori had a hard time trying to sleep at night. He looked up at his ceiling. The ancient plastic glow-in-the-dark stars took the rough form of constellations he imagined in his youth. The same words repeating in his mind over and over again. I'm yours. Every time he heard those words repeated in his head, they seemed to mean something different. I'm yours. In what capacity did he mean that? Context clues say that it's a partner, a business-oriented hero vigilante partner, as they discussed. But as the words echoed over and over again, it felt more than that. Dara was more than that to him. He was also his friend, and his mentor, and his lifeline. In the short few months of knowing each other, so much of his life revolved around, or was a direct result of Dare. Dare had his positive influences. He had even made a new friend, and he had an acquaintance or two, but he wouldn't have his job or be attending online courses where he met them if Dare hadn't convinced him he was capable of it first. He was stronger now, both physically and mentally thanks to him. He was happier, safer, and more confident. He owed so much to Dare, which is why he desperately wanted to return the favour, and be there for him in return. To prove he was worth all the time and effort he took into training him by using that training to be of use to him. It would make sense, he thought, for Dare to say Izuku was theirs. That he was accepting him for this position. That he was his guy in the chair, his eyes in the sky, his protege. But that wasn't what he said. He said, I'm yours. What could that mean? What could it mean? What does it mean? Is it possible he was offering up something more? For a partnership of a different kind? The way he was looking at him when he said it, like Izuku was the only other person on the planet. Midoriya groaned loudly into his pillow in frustration. He was overthinking this. He knew he was overthinking this. He was reading into things much deeper, too much, and imagining false depth behind glances that surely weren't as meaningful as he remembered seeing them in his mind's eye. He always did this. Imagined a world where people cared about him in more or different ways from what they actually did. Rose-coloured glasses of wishful thinking and desperation is what made him believe Kachan still gave a shit about him after all those years. He wouldn't let his delusions allow him to believe he had a chance when he didn't. Never again. They were friends. They were partners. These were things Dara had said out loud in his own words, so he knew they were true. Everything else was just a fantasy. He locked up that fantasy in the highest tower of the most impenetrable fortress of his mind, assigned a dragon of his insecurity to guard it, never to see the light of day again. He he really wasn't his. He wasn't really his. Not in that way, and he never would be. But that was okay, because the ways he already were so much more than he ever thought he would get from someone. The him from 2.5 months ago would have never thought he would have not one but two friends, and that he would have a partner to help him reach his goals as a future hero. He was so lucky to have these things now. This was the time to be grateful for the miracles he was already granted, not to be stingy and ask for more. He took a deep breath to seal his resolve and fell asleep with a smile on his face. Okay, everyone, that was the end of chapter 4. Wow, that was amazing. Loved it. We're going to do chapter 5 next. Not sure how long chapter 5 is, as I haven't read it yet, but it's going to be good. I can assume at least. Anyway, hope you guys have a nice day. See you later. Bye-bye.